Good morning to everyone. Glad you can make it this morning and hopefully this time will be well spent. We will all carry something to our jobs with this meeting. We decided to try to have these meetings on Zoom as opposed to having everyone come down here, and hopefully we get more in attendance. So just welcome to our office through Zoom. And as we go throughout the day, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. And we're here to answer any questions that you might have. The first thing that I would like to talk about this morning from standpoint, and we'll basically the entire staff will be speaking to you this morning, are our handbook updates and our handbook changes. You should have received a copy of all these in the school packets that we handed out at the district meetings, but just some items of interest that I do want to bring up. The big topic this year has been 7 classifications that will begin next year. And then also we reclassified this year, so we'll be asking schools for numbers at the 1st of October, the end of September. And we hope to have you in your classifications by Thanksgiving, hopefully. And Keith, if you would unmute yourself right quick.
Yes, sir.
Are we being joined today by the NFHS, and they're gonna make a presentation on the pixel lights?
Yes, sir. I do not see them on here yet.
Okay, when they get on there, if you'll notify me, we'll immediately let them in.
Okay.
Keith, we're on Kenneth House and myself,
Okay.
Patrick Ewart.
Okay, hang on.
We're
one
both
second.
here.
Okay, guys, before you start, just this is a new program given by the NFHS. It's streaming. It's the best deal that I've seen out there, especially from the NFHS, and where this is important to your schools, whether you're streaming now or not streaming now. This is a value that I feel like all of our schools should take advantage of, because they just give you an opportunity to, they'll give you 2 pixel lights, install them for you, and you can stream over their network. You can continue to stream on yours if you choose to, but when you get to the playoffs, then you will only be able to stream on the NFHS, but that will be free. So at this time, I'll turn it over to the guy from the NFHS and let them explain that program to you fully, but we fully endorse this program from this office.
Okay, Kenneth, you should be able to share your screen.
Yes, give me 1 second here and I'll do that. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
1 second. All righty, so we are the NFHS network. We're the #1 spot for high school sports to watch and stream those athletic events in the country. This past school year, we did over 750,000 live events on the network. And that's all levels of sport, whether that be middle school, JV, freshman, varsity, all levels of sport were live streamed on our network. And again, that was 750,000 events. This coming year, we're expecting to do over 1 million. So like I said, we are the #1 spot to watch and live stream those athletic events in the country for high school.
Hey, Kenneth, I think you might need to reshare, because if you switch slides, we didn't see the switch.
Oh, can you see that?
Yep, there you go.
Okay, got it. Sorry about that. So we're partnered with over 9,000 schools across the country. We work with 60 different state associations. Not each state just has one. Some of them have 2, some of them have 3. We've given back over $10 million to our schools through our revenue share program. And I'll touch on that in just 1 second. And like I mentioned on the last slide, we are looking to stream over 1 million live events this year. This is the school broadcast program. So in the state of Mississippi specifically, we have 72 out of 244 schools. So just roughly over 30% of the schools in the state are on board with us currently. Our goal now is to get to 100% of the schools. So that way, every single sporting event in the state of Mississippi is going to be live streamed to the network. And you guys have the ability to watch both home and away games for any school in the state. This is what the actual Pixelot camera is going to look like. So it's fully automated. It has a tracking feature in it that follows the action of the sport. So it removed the need to have a student, a parent, or an administrator come out and actually hold that camera and man it on left and right. It does all of that on its own. And that's the cool part about it, is that you can remove the need to have to employ some folks to actually come out there and film that game. So here's what the actual offer is. So like Mr. Warren mentioned earlier, it would be 2 free Pixelot cameras. One would go in the gym, the other one would go on any outdoor facility field, whether that be football, baseball, softball. No cost to the school up front. We make our money through subscriptions to our network. So for fans to tune into the games, they have to get a subscription, whether that be monthly or yearly. We offer both. And again, there's no cost to the school to actually get set up. And we revenue share with you guys on those subscriptions. So that's the opportunity for you guys to bring in some revenue as well. We do offer both exclusive and non-exclusive broadcasting. So if you exclusively stream with us just to the NFHS network, you're going to get double on that revenue share for those monthly subscriptions. So that'll be 20% instead of 10%. But if you choose to do non-exclusive, this would allow you to continue streaming to other platforms, whether that be YouTube, Facebook, your school website, any local radio stations or web faces. They can continue to stream those games, and you guys will continue to get just a 10% revenue share on that as well. And there are opportunities for you guys to advertise through this as well. We have 3 different spots for you guys to put your logos, one at the top left, and bottom right of every stream. And this is something that we leave up to you guys. It's not required, but it's an opportunity for you guys to bring in some additional revenue as well. And we've added a couple new things this year in regards to that, some pre-roll and mid-roll video, some rotating watermarks. So some cool stuff that you guys can utilize to bring in some extra revenue as well. These are our new baseball and softball cameras. They just came out this year. We've tested them out in a few different schools, so we're about to start rolling those out this coming school year. One goes at right behind home plate. The other one goes in the outfield, basically center field. So you're getting both views. So during when the pitcher's pitching, you'll have the view behind home plate, and when the ball is hit, they'll switch to the other camera. It's pretty slick in it when it's working, so it looks really well.
But just, I'm going to touch on that real quick.
Yeah.
My name is Pat Ewert. And yeah, so with the baseball, softball camera, you don't have to have both infield and outfield ones. So, we'll start with the behind home plate, which most of them go behind home plate. And then the outfield camera, it is set up for baseball right now, not necessarily softball, but these are specialized cameras built just for baseball and softball. It's a single camera look. And you can see how clear and great view that it gives at each of those facilities. So again, you don't have to have both. They call it the double play system when you have an infield and outfield camera. You can have just behind the plate, and it's fantastic view.
Thank you, Pat, for sure. And here is the console mobile. This is going to be the #1 thing for you guys as administrators to reach out to us for help. So if there's any issues with your Pixelot, you need to submit a support ticket, you need to run some test broadcasts, you need to change the event time, or even start the actual broadcast, sometimes stop it if there's weather delays. This right here is going to be where you will reach out to us. You'll reach out to help.nfhsnetwork.com. You can submit that ticket right there, and we'll be able to reach back out to you guys as soon as possible and get those problems rectified. VidSwap is one of our partners. They are a comparable coaching tool to Huddle. They actually offer relatively the same type of product, game breakdowns. They actually offer unlimited storage for their film. So I know some other coaching tools, you generally have to pay per a certain amount of gigs. This is completely unlimited, so they don't have to pay for actual storage. It's usually a little bit cheaper than Huddle. Schools are saving about 30% on that. And like I said, it's actually diverse. It's able to be used for all sports. So not just football, not just basketball, the main sports that most schools care about. It can be used for volleyball, softball, soccer, lacrosse, any of those sports as well. And we actually do have an offer for any school that's interested in getting BidSwap. Any school that is a new member to the network this year, if you don't already have Pixelot cameras installed, you guys get this special price of $14.99 for the AD package. If you're adding an additional camera to your school, if you guys already have Pixelot cameras installed and you're adding maybe a baseball camera or an additional gym, you guys can also continue to get this AD package as well. And lastly would be if you're renewing your contract with us. So if you have already been on the network for about 5 years and it's time for you to renew your contract, you guys also have the ability to take advantage of this special price for the AD package on BidSwap. And the contact here, her name is Kiki Enderly. She will be able to get you guys set up with BidSwap. And I can get you guys her contact info as well after. And that's all I have for you guys. If you guys have any questions, I'd like to open it up for you all.
Evidently, there's not any questions, Kenneth, and we appreciate y'all taking time today to share this. And once again, I will say this is an outstanding deal for schools that want to take advantage of this. It's a great network and highly recommended by us. Thank y'all for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll continue on with the handbook updates. I'm not going to touch all of them. I believe it was about 3.5 pages that were in that. If you would like those sent to you, just let us know and we'll email those to you. But I believe I was talking about the classifications and the reclassifications. Some things that's important about that, and make sure that when you mark what sports you are going to participate in next year, that you put down everything that you're going to compete in. Because once these regions are set and once the board has approved these regions, if you have left out a sport, then you will have to play that sport as an independent for the next 2 years. We will not add anyone to any activity that has to be divided into regions once these things are set. So make sure you do your due diligence there. Get with your coaches, get with, if you're the principal, get with your AD, get with everyone and get these approved. We have too many requests every year. Well, we forgot to do this. And then on the other hand, make sure when you mark that you're going to have that sport, that you are going to have that sport or activity, because if you opt out after you've been placed in a region, then that is going to be a fine on the school for that, because it totally messes up not only classification sometimes, but also the regions in those sports. So that's all I'm going to talk about that. A reminder that beginning next year at this time, girls and boys golf will be moved to the fall. So we'll be coming out with the fall calendar, hopefully by the end of October. This year we in volleyball, soccer, and tennis, we have 3 teams making the playoffs as opposed to 2. Then the next year when we go to 7 classifications, those will have 4 teams making the playoff. And these are just some new things. 3 of the newest rules that we have, we've never had a mercy rule in football and basketball beginning this year. We do have a mercy rule for both of those sports, and it is the same for both sports. This goes from the junior high level all the way through varsity. If one team is up 35 or more at the half or at any point after half, then the clock runs. The only time the clock stops after reaching 35 or more points will be during timeouts or for an injury. That's for both football and basketball at all levels of play. So let's be sure that we know that. And then the other one is we do now have a pitch count rule for middle school pitchers. And that is 95 in a single day, and it goes down from there. For some of our schools that may have an elite athlete in the 8th grade that's pitching at the varsity level or JV or 9th grade level, that pitcher will still be under this pitch count for 95 pitches as opposed to the 120 pitch count for high school and varsity. That's all the updates at this time. Are there any questions about anything we've discussed so far before I go on to our sports medicine advisor? Okay, thank you. We'll remind you today, and we're a long state and we have different temperatures all over the state, but right here today, the real field temperature, I call it, is supposed to be somewhere between 105 and 110 degrees. That's important if you're a cross-country coach or a football coach and practicing outside. So let's be extremely careful with our athletes in these situations. Make sure they went through the heat acclimatization period, the 14-day period there, and then also we sent out to all schools of our sports medicine committee advise this. Today, for example, if you're in this area and it reaches where it's supposed to, when the heat index reaches 105 degrees or higher, we recommend stopping all outside practices and activity and either move them indoors or delay them until conditions improve. If you are not going to take that recommendation, then we advise you to let them take off shoulder pads, helmet, or whatever, have more frequent breaks, and make sure that they have plenty of water. Make sure that you have a cool tub out there in case someone has to be immersed in that, and then limit practice during this time and take a break every 15 to 20 minutes. I can't tell you how important it is to ensure the health and safety of all of our student athletes as we continue to go forward with this school year. If the heat index is 100 to 105 degrees, which is a little better, just limit the intensity and the duration of the workout. Instead of running through everything, walk through everything, have low impact activities, breaks and everything, but between this, and once again, provide water, limit activities to no more than 2 hours per session. The next one is 95 to 100, and that's basically the same one. And all this is just saying this, let's be careful out there. Let's be careful with our student athletes. Let's take care of them. It is our duty to do that. And I know we have to push them, so to speak, in order to get ready to play in 2 weeks. But at what point is it worth pushing them to the extent of complete exhaustion to where a tragedy happens, or at least they get to a point where it takes them longer to recover? If you stay within these guidelines, you should be fine. At this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Leanna Dawson, an Assistant Director, to talk about paraprofessionals.
Good morning. Hope everything's going well, and I hope each of you had a great start to your school year. Up front about paraprofessionals, there's some important things to remember. If you're the adult working with your students does not have an MDE certified teacher license, they're a paraprofessional. Doesn't matter what you call them, helper, volunteer, volunteer coach, consultant, they are a paraprofessional. Okay. Second thing, paraprofessionals cannot be the head coach in football at any level, basketball at any level, baseball at any level, and fast pitch at any level. And any level means varsity, JV, 8th grade team, 9th grade team, junior high. They cannot be the head coach. Okay. As far as compensation, that is completely up to your school board, your school district. Y'all decide whether or not a paraprofessional is compensated. Just because you use paraprofessionals does not mean that that comes with a check. All right. The requirements that they need: fundamentals of coaching, one-time course. They need safety first aid, just like your certified coaches need. That's renewed every 5 years. CPR, just like the certified coaches. CPR is either renewed every 2 years or every year, depending on which program you use. The concussion course, the sportsmanship course, both are free. Those have to be completed. Now, there's other paraprofessionals such as archery that have to do some guidelines by the wildlife department, and then cheer and dance have different, have an additional responsibility that they have to complete, an additional requirement. The information goes to the school and the school sends it to me. If someone who is not attached to a school contacts me or sends me information and says that they want to work with one of our member schools, I tell them they have to go through the school in order for us to approve that. Basically, everything is sent in to me up front, everything completed. All of this should be in Dragonfly. Paraprofessionals should be in Dragonfly. All of their credentials should be in black, no red. Coach Stramick's going to talk about Dragonfly in a minute. In the chat box, I put in my email, Coach Tillman's, Coach Freeman, Coach Stramick. You can email me and I can send you this. This is in the handbook around page 58, but it's a form that you can use. It's a great checkoff list to make sure you're turning in everything that you need to turn in. And remember, our paraprofessionals have to be voted on by your school board. We don't want a coach to go lone wolf and bring in 3 or 4 people to help a team, and those superiors above him do not have any idea that they're with our student athletes. So if you have any questions, you can email me, and y'all just have a great year.
Let me give you just a concern about paraprofessionals. Make sure that you treat them as coaches. They have to follow the same regulations as coaches. Most of all, make sure these paraprofessionals are aware of our high school activity association rules and regulations. In a lot of cases, schools that get in trouble over recruiting and transfers and practice violations, too many times that is a paraprofessional who, in my words, is not familiar with the school business and the way we have to do things. So let's just make sure that they are aware of all this and use them when necessary. At this time, Coach Stramick will talk about security plans, Dragonfly, and eligibility and transfers, which is a hot topic.
Morning, everybody. While we're working on getting that security PowerPoint up for you to see. First thing, just as a new AD or a new principal, remember a couple things. When you're starting to feel overwhelmed, don't get that way. Network with other administrators or ADs or principals that are out there that you can talk to about questions. Call us if you have any questions, but communicate with people. and try to find some mentors, some people, and you feel free to call our office as well. So we're trying to work that one. Security.
I can't do a mouse. I'm used to a trackpad. I got it highlighted.
All right, can everybody see that? Are we good on that?
Hey, Tim, you're gonna need to share your screen. Hang on one second.
Just
Go ahead, Tim.
All right, well, the first one we're gonna talk about is the security plans. As soon as we can get that up for you. Most of you have already done this. You've got your security plans, but this is just something that I used, you know, years ago when I was a beginning AD myself, and I went through and used these things. These were some helpful hints and some ideas and some things that we used in order to get through with our thing. And it's a good outline for you. Everything could be a little bit different for everybody else, but these were just some good guidelines that we used. Are we good there, Keith?
Yes.
All right, so everybody can see that. Good. And again, any of the three things that I'm going to show you today, all you have to do is email me at that email address at the bottom. And I will forward you these PowerPoints. It's just some helpful hints and some things that we developed while we were at Germantown, and it was things that we utilized while we were at Madison Central. The biggest thing is planning and organizing. You know, you got to have your security. Make sure that you're meeting with your administration and meet with your security. You know, have an overall plan for the year, gather all your sports calendars, communicate that plan with your security. We communicated with our security administration, gatekeepers, and everybody, including transportation. We communicated with everybody once a week. We had every week we sent something out that told everybody what they were doing. Something that is being done a lot better now that wasn't so good years ago is separate your home and visiting fans. In this day and age, we got to make sure that they're separate. Make sure that your security and administration is visible, mobile, and approachable. You know, they need to be at the game. They don't need to just stand in the corner and having romper room in an end zone somewhere doing it. You know, they need to be out. They need to be amongst people and be visible and be approachable. One of the things that we did is we categorized ours with fall, winter, and spring sports. This was just our guideline. You know, some things probably need to be added to this now with archery and the different things, but we categorized everything so that our security and everybody knew what was coming, what was updated. So, you know, that was just a planning deal. We did this as well. We had to work with the sheriff's office in Madison County. So we sent this out. This is how many games per year, how many officers that we wanted at each game, and decided on locations and different things of that nature. Budgeting and costs. Some people are very fortunate that their security is free. We had to pay for ours. So, you know, make sure that you budget for that, because on a Friday night, we asked these people for a football game to get there X number of minutes prior to the game. For football, it was an hour and a half. Some games we asked them to be there 2 to 2.5 hours before the game time. So our cost back in the day was $18 per hour per officer. We spent probably $20,000 to $35,000 a year on security. So just make sure that as you're looking at things that you don't forget to budget for those things. We made sure that our opponents, our security, we took the time to make aerial views of all of our facilities. You know, the keys to good security right here. Have a good plan for each event. Don't let anything go unnoticed. Communicate with everybody, especially with your updates, because baseball, softball, soccer, you may have constant changes, and there's nothing worse than the security showing up for a game and there isn't one. Like I said, we set out the weekly emails and schedules for everybody to keep everybody updated. And we gave everybody an exact location of where they needed to be at each event. That way it was easy. Again, make everybody mobile and separate your fans. Game administrators, and I know that Mr. Freeman and Mr. Neves are going to hit this hard later, but again, make sure that your game administrators are there to work. Make sure that they know all these different things, you know, sportsmanship, all the things that go with the pregame meetings that are mandatory. Make sure they know where the location of the EMTs or the trainers are. Ask the other school if they don't have a trainer, that you have one available, and just make sure that you have this plan for each event, because you're ultimately liable. This is just an example of an email that we sent out. You know, one of the weekly emails we sent out about security, who had gatekeepers and all those things. This is what we sent out to our to the opponents. You know, this is where all the locations are. This is where everything needs to be. This is how much it costs to get into the event. Had an art student who wasn't doing very well draw this little map for us when we first came in, but you know, give them locations of buses. We even went so far as to have, you know, this list of where everybody was going to be. Now, this list of where everybody was going to be correlates to the numbers on that, like for a football or soccer event, this is where you needed to be. You can see the numbers that are in black. You know, we just went, some people think it might be overkill, but it's just very important to be organized and have everything set up so that there are no questions. I need to be at location 21. That's my duty. Emails that we sent out, just as reminders, it helps keep you on task. We even went so far, I don't know how your transportation department is or if you've got them on campus, but we even went so far as to make sure that everybody knew what buses they were taking, when and where. Again, aerial views of different locations. Now, we even went through for the Germantown High School gym. The area marked in green right there was the entrance. Areas marked in red was where we were going to have security and our administrators. The blue dot was where the officials went. So everybody knew where somebody was supposed to be, and there was easy access to where the gate was and where people needed to be. And we did that for every venue that we have. That was just the same thing for the middle school. So we took the time to give this, because sometimes security might have one group scheduled but have to send somebody else. So it was easy enough to just have that on hand. Security locations, team parking. Again, these are just examples of the things that we put out. There's our baseball, softball complex with instructions on where everybody needed to go. After school practices, you know, have a safety plan for that. You know, you're in the middle of football and cross country right now, and it's hot. You know, you need to be aware that these are open venues and things could happen. So make sure. That was kind of our little checklist of the things that we had for all coaches to know. You have open practices with parent issues. Make sure you have a plan for that for any sport. You know, if basketball practices are open and there's people in the gym, make sure that you educate your coaches and everybody on, if an instance happens, this is what we do. And then, you know, same thing with parent issues. So again, most of you have this is just helpful hints on what to go. But again, that's my email. That's my old email. Don't listen to that one.
Click out of that PowerPoint. That red button up there.
Use that email right there, this button.
Mhm. And then
All right, now I need Mr. Wizard to help us get to the next one on Dragonfly.
Okay, one second.
get rid of that.
Keys, not figured out.
All right. And we'll make sure everybody can see it. Just make it full screen.
Yes, sir.
Can we do just the whole screen? Are they seeing all the things or are they seeing just that?
They're seeing all of
Okay. Are we good?
it.
All right, Dragonfly. Again, there's my email. Don't be scared of Dragonfly. The biggest problem with people being scared of Dragonfly is that they don't play with it. They don't try, they don't explore it. They don't go to Dragonfly Academy. Do these things and get through it. It is mandatory that everything's in there. Dragonfly Academy, if you go to our website, on the right side under quick links, you can click Dragonfly Academy and there's all kinds of resources. There's things on Dragonfly Academy that you can tell your parents, you can tell your administrators, you can tell coaches. They can click on that and they can go to anything that they need to know and learn about. So it's on there on Dragonfly Academy. Again, go to the website. There it is. There's some other instructions on how to get there. One of the big questions that a lot of you are going to get asked is how do your coaches' spouses get their statewide pass? That the spouse, they can't get a pass. Like my wife can't get her state pass off of my account. She has to have her own Dragonfly account and has to pay through that. That's the only way, but there's the instructions on how your wives can get their, or the wives or husbands, the spouses can get their state passes. We've got two things on there. One's through Dragonfly Academy, but those are the instructions on how to do it. We also have the state pass links. These are on the things on statewide pass on a mobile device. There's some instructions and some links. Few things you need to know is you have to have a Dragonfly account before you can get a pass. And the coaches need to be attached to a school as an administrator, a coach, a spouse, or a board member. And then the school approves those passes. And then we then give them. All right, some Dragonfly reminders. It's mandatory that all your forms, physicals, sportsmanship, everything must be uploaded, completed, and visible in Dragonfly. It is not acceptable to sit there and say, okay, this kid's physical's on file in the office. That's not good. It's not you can't say it's on file or somewhere else. It has to be visible. Everything needs to be visible on there. Fines are going to start being assessed to schools that don't have their rosters, don't have their forms in, don't have anything visible in Dragonfly. Dragonfly Academy will help you. And then there's some helpful hints in some of those sites and those links that we got. Example of not acceptable. See how this one says file? Well, that's not good. That's a physical that was out of school. Hopefully it's been changed, but last month, that was a physical on Dragonfly for a student. That's acceptable. That physical's been uploaded and it's visible. So we're good on that. There's instructions on how to add your roster information. Generally, if you scroll to the right of all of your, when you go into, say you go into basketball and you're on your varsity basketball team, if you go to the right, there's all the information on how to do your roster. So have your coaches do their rosters now before the playoffs, and all of a sudden they're trying to do everything late. Rosters are used for the MHSAA, where it's a liability for and catastrophic insurance eligibility, Dragonfly compliance, championship programs. There's all kinds of things that we have to have those for. One thing that I'm pretty sure Mr. Freeman's going to touch on, I'm not going to do too much on this, but in Dragonfly, make sure your schedules are in. I know that we've sent out multiple emails about making sure that these early games were moved to 7:30, and a lot of them still are not. And I'm sure he's going to talk to you about that. It's very important that you get all these things in to ensure that your officials are going to be assigned. If you don't put the game in, nobody's going to show up, and then that's an issue. And you can check Dragonfly to see who your officials are and what time they're going to be there. So make sure that each one of your games is done correctly. the Dragonfly Vault and forms. You've got financial forms, you've got transfer forms, your tryout forms, your bordering and non-bordering states, all these different forms that you have to fill out, you can find in the Dragonfly Vault. If you have any questions, Dragonfly Academy, that middle one is a little bit tough right now with the helpline and chat. But you can call us and we'll help you, whether it's getting things in, we're available to help you. And again, anything that we do, we're here to help you. So again, if you have any questions or you want a copy of those few things, there again is the email address that I can send that to you if you'd like. And now I'm going to finish up. So I know you're tired of talking to me about eligibility and transfers. Just close it. First, Keith do it. I think he's doing it. So take a breath, take a sip of coffee, and then we'll get on to eligibility. Later, you sit down here when you present. I need to sit on that. Yeah. All right, we good there, Keith? All right, again, address didn't change. All right, transfer forms. If you're going to fill out an in-state or an out-of-state transfer form, go to the Dragonfly Vault and you can search for that form. If a student's coming to you, you're going to fill out Part A. And if a student is leaving your school, you will fill out Part B. Make sure that you fill out this form completely in the comment boxes, or the reason that they're leaving or the reason that they're coming in. The more information you give, the better off it is. If we don't have enough information, then it forces us to make calls and start checking on things, which we're going to do anyway. But just to tell us something small moved doesn't help. Communicate with the other school about transfer. Know the eligibility sections in the handbook. Communicate with your parents as they're coming in to you or as they leave about what the rules are and whether they may or may not be eligible with their move in or whatever, because you need to be aware of the rules so you can help their parents and the students. Helpful things to follow. Make sure that your counselors are a part of the transfer part. When those kids come in and they're meeting with a counselor, find out. Are they going to play a sport? Did they play a sport at a previous school? Obviously, the residency check. Who has custody? Remember this, guardianship does not give custody. Have they withdrawn from the previous school? And communicate with the coach or the AD or the principal at the other school so that everybody's aware, and you'll find out a lot of information when you do that. Communicate with the other school. Just follow those steps. If kids that call the other, whenever somebody came into our school, I would call the other school and just say, hey, Johnny's leaving you and coming here. Tell me about it. What happened? And they say, oh, hey, they moved. Dad got a new job. All those things are good, but you find out a lot when you communicate, and it stops problems from beginning. Know the eligibility rules. These are some helpful, these are the things that come up the most. When a school district has 2 or more schools, or there's a parochial school within the zone, you need to know that. You need to know a little bit about the county unit systems, bona fide residency and bona fide moves, bona fide change of residence, school transfers, Rule 2.31, divorce and separation and guardianship. Guardianship nor parents separating carries eligibility. Physical custody is the key. Sometimes when you get joint custody, a joint custody situation, for example, if my ex-wife and I divorced and we had joint custody, if the kids lived with her first, when we got divorced, if the kids lived with her, that became their school of choice. That became their home school. If a year later they want to come live with me, their eligibility has been set at the other school. So they would have to sit out a year, or I would have to get full custody, even, because they have changed what they were doing. Administrative transfers, we have a lot of issues here in that the old rule 10 years ago said that anybody, if you were a bus driver or a custodian or a teacher's assistant, you could go to school where your mom or dad worked. The rule changed 10 years ago that now says parents have to be certified educators through the MDE. They have to have a teaching license in order for that administrative transfer to go. And also remember, when people are coming in and they ask you a question, just because they've enrolled in your school doesn't mean they're going to be eligible. Knowing these things help you out a lot when you're going through the transfer process to be able to communicate with your kids. Communicate these things with your parents. Ask a bunch of questions. Let them ask you questions about transfers. Find out why. Find out those things so that it'll help you in the long run, but it also helps this office with getting things done quickly. Again, fill out your part of the transfer form in depth. Be specific on all your information. It's not enough to just say, well, going to live with dad, or going to live with grandma, or, well, they moved. If you come across any new information along the way, go back to the vault and adjust the information, before the ruling. If you have new information after ruling's been made, call and let us know, and we'll take that into consideration. Try your best not to hit the sign and submit button when you're first filling these out, because that locks the other school out. If you start putting your information in and then you just get out of Dragonfly or get out of the vault, it'll still be there. But if you hit sign and submit, it locks the other school out, which is something that we are working on with Dragonfly. Same thing with Part B. If a student is leaving your school, in the comment box, be specific about every piece of information that you know. Red flags, these are things that happen, that when you're filling out a form, these are some red flags for you to find out more information. If the family did not change residence, they did not move, you need to find out why or more information. Same, that's like same address, but they're changing schools. If the entire family does not move, that's a red flag. You need to find out why. Going to live with mom, going to live with dad, moving in with aunt and uncle, whatever, you need to find out more information. You need to find out about custody. Divorce and separation, we've talked about custody and joint custody, and just remember, guardianship does not carry eligibility. If somebody's moving, but they're keeping their other residence, they can't have two residences. They have to completely move. That's under all that information with the bona fide move. And then in conclusion, you need to understand that this process can take a while. So like a lot of schools this summer called and asked a lot of questions. And I said, well, get the transfer form in now this summer so we can work on it. Well, they didn't. And right now, at this point, I have 300 transfer forms sitting to be looked at in my vault right now that I have to look at. And some of these kids are in fall sports, and it's going to take a while. We do over sometimes 2,000 transfers in a year. So the sooner you get your information in, the better off you'll be. But right now, sometimes this can take 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks to be completed. And that's not anybody's fault, but there's a lot of things that go into it. So again, if y'all have any questions about anything at any given time, feel free to call us. All of our directors here do a great job of communicating with everybody. We're always available. So if you have any questions, let us know. And now we're going to go over to the financial lady. She's not writing checks. It's Leslie McClendon.
Good morning. Right now, you've got membership and catastrophic and state passes. Membership and catastrophic, they're due at the end of August. Again, Dragonfly is where all the forms are. Any financial forms that you want, you go to your vault, click on fill out a form, click out fill out a form, then go to the MHSAA tab. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, about the fourth and the fifth one is your cat insurance for junior high and high school. And make sure you realize you're responsible for junior high and high school to make sure those get in. Print those out and give them to your bookkeeper. Some of your bookkeepers may have access to Dragonfly, but they can get them. If they don't, it's your responsibility to make sure your bookkeepers have those to get those paid this month. Passes, everything's on Dragonfly. There are a couple of times where you have school board members that just cannot get Dragonfly. If you just have to have the school board members, we do physical copies for the school board members. But everybody else, school people, have to be in Dragonfly. And so if you got any questions on that or in passage, you just give us a call. I did an email out to everyone. If you did not get, make sure let me know, because I did instructions on how to create an invoice in Dragonfly for those passes. You could give me a PO number and we could go ahead and get the passes approved, and then later on see me a check. But if you haven't done your passes yet, that's a hot issue for you right now. Then during the year, we use GoFan, our electronic tickets. They're good. They're really good when you do electronic tickets. Money doesn't tend to go away. Everything's electronically. So we push GoFan big time. Greg Bendermaid's our contact. So if you need any questions or have questions about that, just give me a call or email me, and we'll talk more about that. But that's all I have for now. State passes, membership, and catastrophic are due now.
And your email's in the chat box.
My email's in the chat box, they said.
All right, listen. Next, mine is going to be forms, schedules, sanctions, and tryouts. We said earlier about all the forms are in Dragonfly. I mainly handle the after-school conditioning forms, the invitational tournament forms, the classic games, the jamborees and scrimmages, player and coach ejection forms, the tryout request forms, and Leslie does the membership fees and the catastrophic insurance. But like she said earlier, that is on Dragonfly. We preach that, get familiar with it, because it's the easiest way for us to communicate, especially when you want to have a trial within a day or so. Fill out that form and then I will approve it. I normally check it first thing in the morning and then around 3 o'clock in the afternoon every day. So make sure if you are playing a school, a private school or a MEIS school, make sure that you get that approved prior to the game, prior to the contest. A lot of schools play teams on bordering states, especially North Mississippi and South Mississippi. They go to Louisiana, Arkansas, and Florida, bordering state and non-bordering state forms. I have a copy of these. They'll be there on Dragonfly as well. Now, these you have to print these and then fill them out and then email them to me. And then normally I say 30 days. Normally, if you can get them to me within 2 weeks, please make sure you get that in to me, and therefore I'll send them to the other state to make sure that school is in good standing. A couple of years ago, before Dion came to Jackson State, he had that prep school out there, and then they weren't sanctioned with UIL. UIL is the University Interscholastic League that governs the Texas high school sports, and they weren't a member of that UIL. So they invited one of our schools to play them, but just in time we caught it, and then they were not able to play them because that school was not sanctioned. So very, very important that we play schools that are just like us, people that go to school every day and not basically a virtual school. Homeschool students, make sure, I know a lot of kids may run in homeschool with cross country and track in the MEIS, but if we have a school that's participating, we make sure that we do not run against homeschool students in track and cross country or play them in the sports. And also, please, if they are not a bona fide student at your school, then you can't let somebody come in on the outside and come participate on your team. That's very, very important. Spring training forms, like I said, on the tryouts, all sports, basketball, baseball, softball, all of those sports, they get up to 5 days. Fill out that form on Dragonfly, and then I'll click it and approve it. Football, there's a tryout, spring training form. You get 21 days to get 15 practices, which includes the game. So go online and you can fill that out on Dragonfly as well. That's all I have. One other thing, ejections. Greg is going to touch base with that a little bit, but I'm just saying this. We had a lot of ejections in soccer and basketball, baseball and softball. We started out well last year in football and we didn't have as many, but as things cool off, I guess, we had a lot more ejections. So make sure it's the school's responsibility. If you get a player or a coach ejected, go to Dragonfly and fill out that form. And then I'll wait and get the ejection report from the official. Once we decide whether or not, the player, we're going to hold the ejection or whatever, then we'll check that box and then you'll get that within the next day. But please, if you had a player that got ejected and you play in back-to-back games, do not play that player until we find out whether or not they have to sit out. And if they have to sit out, remember, they sit out that remaining, so for instance, they get ejected the second quarter. All right, they lose that whole second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter if it's basketball, and then they miss out the next 2 games. In football, they sit out 1 game, but in basketball, baseball, and other sports, they sit out 2 games. So make sure you do your due diligence in filling out those forms, because if you play that player and they're ineligible, then you end up forfeiting the game and you will be fined. All right, Mr. Freeman.
Good morning. I'm Greg Freeman. I'm one of the assistant directors here, and I'm over the officials. So I just wanted to let everybody know that our officials have been working really hard this summer, doing training and working on their craft. And I'm excited about this upcoming season. I know that we've got volleyball going on right now. I think everything is going really well with that. And as we continue through, we're going to see more and more improvement in what we've been able to do. I need your help also in that if you've got kids that hang around and are part of the sport and been a part of the sport for a long time, that might be interested in officials, in officiating, we need to make sure that we encourage them to contact the proper people to get in touch with, to get them back in the game and to be a part of the game and to keep them involved in what they love to do. The first thing I would tell each and every one of you is make sure that you know who the assigner is in your area. We have assigners, the way our process works, we have assigners in every area for every sport. And you need to know those assigners. You need to have their phone numbers and email addresses, as well as being able to communicate with them to check things out, to make sure that everything is above board. It's like we said here earlier. When you've got games and you have a game and everybody shows up except the officials, and then you go back and you figure out, well, there was no officials in that game. See, that makes everybody look bad. And pretty much you could avoid that by going in and checking that schedule and seeing if you have officials assigned. If you've got a game, usually our officials assign games at least a week out. And you can go in and check and make sure that they have officials assigned to that game. If you do not have them assigned, then they're not gonna show up because they're not gonna know about it. So make sure that we take care of that, that we double check that. If you get a chance, especially during football season, if you get a chance to check and call the white hat or the referee of your varsity crew, kind of let them know, like Coach Ryan said, let them know where they're going to park and all this kind of things, and just communicate with them. Because that's so important that we have an open line of communication, because like I said, they work hard, they're working hard on their craft, just like your players and coaches are. And we want to make sure and give them every opportunity that all of us need to have a fair and timely thing. Make sure also that all the schedules are in. You can do that yourself, talk with your coaches. I don't know how you do it at your particular school, but make sure that you have your schedules in Dragonfly in a timely manner. And also, another good thing is they can scan them or text them, email them, whatever, to their assigners to make sure that the assigner has it in a timely manner to where they can go ahead and make sure everything is in and everything is assigned, and all that just makes everything go a lot smoother. And as we're anytime that you have a change, and I know that in football and volleyball and things like this, we don't have as much a problem as we do in the spring with baseball and softball. But anytime that you have a problem or a change in schedule or a time change or anything like this, make sure to notify the officials, because the only thing that they know is what they're seeing, and the assigner and the officials, the only thing they know is what they're seeing on their screen. It says the time and the location of the game. If that changes, make sure that you have checked that out, or your coaches have checked that out, so that you can prepare and get that corrected, so everyone knows where the game is going to be. Another thing, game scores must be entered into SB Live or Dragonfly. SB Live and Dragonfly communicate with each other. If you can put them in SB Live after the games, or you can look on the tab at the bottom under the game details in Dragonfly, and there's a place that you can enter the scores there. You can enter them either place, but we need to make sure that you and your coaches enter the scores of any varsity games right after the game. The reason is because when we get ready for the playoffs and start looking at brackets and things like this, we need to have an understanding of where we are. And, you know, we started finding some people last year. Don't want to start doing that. So please make sure that you or your coaches or someone there in the school are getting those scores in either SB Live or Dragonfly to help us all out. As Mr. Nee said, if you sign up for a sport, as we come up with the new classification, if you sign up with a sport and you don't participate in that, then you will be fined. And so make sure that you do your due diligence before you sign up for those things. Too many times, especially in our spring sports, golf and tennis and things like this, we had teams that would sign up for, we'd put them in districts and this type thing, but then they wouldn't have a team. And then the people that are planning and trying to make plans for district tournament or regional tournament, things like this, it's just, it doesn't work out well. So if you sign up for a sport, make sure that it's something that you're going to be participating in over the next 2 years. Coach Tillman pointed out about ejections. If you have somebody get ejected, the main thing that we need is with that, and make sure that you tell your camera people, whether it be football, basketball, whatever it is, if there's something that happens, make sure that you keep the film running. The other thing too is make sure that after football games, that the cameraman films the handshakes and all this kind of thing after the game, and kind of the after game activities. That just makes it easier for all of us as we get ready to review, because we just want to make sure that we're able to do our due diligence to make sure that that we get everything as right as possible. And that's kind of where we are with that. As far as fan behavior and sportsmanship, this type thing, as a game administrator, if you're the game administrator, you're not there to cheer on Old Blue or whatever else. I mean, that's part of it. But the main thing that you're there for is to make sure that you keep your fans and your players and your officials, make sure that they have a safe environment to play in. And if we have issues with fans or players or anything like this, it's your responsibility to deal with that. Now, the officials take care of the things that are on the court or on the field. But the game administrator's responsibility is the outside the arena type things. So if you have fans that are acting crazy, we have to deal with that. And so the quicker and more decisive we deal with things like that, the easier it is, because it doesn't get a chance to escalate into something else. Make sure that you have a pregame meeting with your officials and coaches. That is just part of it. That's part of the requirements of the pregame, to have a pregame conference. Make sure that you tell them where you're going to be during the contest. And also, if you have trainers involved and things like this, point out where they will be as well. If you have security there, point out where they're going to be, just to make sure everyone is on the same page. Like I said, we're working hard to try to make sure that we have fairly called contests. And want to wish each and every one of you good luck this season. And if you have any questions, you can email me here at the office, and I look forward to seeing you.
Before you get started, Ms. Neves, I got two other little comments, real quick on the ejections. If someone get ejected and you want to refute that, the only way we'll let you refute that is video evidence. Say for instance, if somebody pushed somebody slapped something. That's why it's important to run that film. Normally we're 85 to 90%, we uphold whatever the officials say in the report. Sometimes, they miss one, and then they'll call us and let me or Mr. Freeman know after they looked at the film on Saturday mornings or the day after. They say, well, we may have missed this here, and don't make the kids sit out anymore, whatever. And so we look at all of that stuff there. But if you don't have any film and you cut the film off, and in case there were a fight, and officials say number 45, 67, 88, and you said this one here he wasn't even on the field. We don't know that if we don't have the film. So make sure you keep that film running. Last thing is, Mr. Freeman was talking about the officials. We've had schools wait until the last minute, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever, before they pay the officials. If the official worked the game, and if you can pay them at the game or else within 2 or 3 days, please pay those officials, because they've done the work, they've done the job and everything. From time to time, we have them, Mr. Freeman and myself as well, and Mr. Neves have to call the schools and tell, well, we don't pay but once a month, or we don't pay but, on the 15th and 30th or whatever. Whenever you tell them you're going to pay them. And to make sure, they don't be calling us, worrying us about, their money. That's it, Mr. Neves.
Hey, thank you, Lonnie, Greg, Tim, Leanna. Before we open it up for any more questions, I'd just like to recap just for a minute. One of the most important things is everyone spoke this morning, and it can't be emphasized enough, is communication. If we communicate with the schools that we're playing, with the officials that's coming, with security, not the day of the game, but a week before, or 3 or 4 days before. It takes care of a lot of these problems if they know where to go when they get there. I will piggyback on some of what Greg said, and Lonnie also, our officials. Make sure you have someone meeting them when they arrive and carrying them to their dressing facilities, or if they're already dressed, to the field, and then make sure you get them off the field and out of your complex safely. Saw yesterday where a coach and an official had an altercation and one of them was killed in Dallas, Texas. And we say, well, that was in Dallas, Texas, and it was, but this summer there was a lady in Laurel, Mississippi assaulted after a game, even after she left the complex. So this is becoming a problem, which gets us back to the game administrator and the duties at that game. That has to be someone who does not mind telling, whether it's the coach, whether it's fans, whether it's whomever, the mayor of the city. That's enough. You either got to settle down or I'm gonna put you out. And when you put them out, don't make idle threats. If they don't settle down, if they need to be, put them off of your school property and don't allow them to come back for any length of time that you choose. My preference is, if I've warned them and they continue to act that way, they're not welcome back at any of my events for at least 1 year or the rest of that school year. So we have to do these things, and it is a shame to say with the way things are going in the world and our nation today, we are responsible for everyone that comes in those gates. And it is our duty to do the best we can to keep them safe. If something does happen at one of your events on your school property, that's why the security plan is so important. If you can prove in a court of law that you took all these precautions and the people were there and they were doing those jobs, then it's just a tragedy. It's not a tragedy and a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the school or school district. And that's honestly what we try to avoid. We don't want these tragedies to happen, but if they do, we want to be able to be covered and our schools to be covered where they're not caught up in some multi-million-dollar lawsuit, which happens. A lot of that is addressed in our sportsmanship policy we put out last year, called it Honoring the Game, and we're continuing that this year. And we just need to make a commitment that this year is going to be the best year in our state as far as safety and sportsmanship shown at all of our events this year. And this goes from what you might consider the least event on your school property to the biggest, whether it's a playoff game or whatever. We have to have that cooperation there. So just communicate with each other, communicate with your staff, your security, whomever you're using, and let's just make this a great year for everyone. Coach Ramick mentioned the eligibility, of which I'm very familiar with over the last 10 years. Communication is the key there. Communication with this office, communication with the parents when they bring a new student in, and finding out all the information and putting it down, and then it is what it is. So there's nothing wrong with the student transferring. I think I gained a reputation a few years ago saying I was against transfers. I am not. I'm against transfers that are not done the right way. As long as you do them and do them by the book, I'm more power to them, and God bless them, and I hope they have a great year. But if they're not following the rules and regulations, it becomes an unfair advantage, not only for that student, but for the school, and a disadvantage for the school that they left. So let's make sure that we're doing all of that. is there any question from anyone watching for any of us, and we'll try to answer that, as best we can. Okay, so if there are no questions, I will tell you, if you are bashful and don't want to ask them, over a Zoom, then email any of us here at the office and we will get you an answer, and we'll get that answered today, or if you send it tomorrow, whenever. But we're always available by phone, by email, or by text. And I do want to review one quick and last thing. If you are streaming, I think it's a great advantage to take advantage of this network. If you are not, and then you're missing out on some opportunities to earn extra income for your programs and your schools, because streaming's coming whether we like it or not. So let's, you're on your own on that. I don't work for that company. It's just a good deal if you choose to. Not many things in this life are free, and right now that's free. So without that, I do appreciate your time this morning. I know we've hurried through a lot of this. I hope it's been beneficial to you, and I will emphasize once again to keep communications open between everyone involved at your events, between the schools and this office. And I'll leave you with just saying, let's just be careful out there and do the best we can. Thank you. Appreciate the job you do.